Here's an easy Valentine's craft idea that's perfect to decorate for spring. So I found these pallet hearts from Hobby Lobby that are already put together. All we have to do is decorate them. I found these beads from Dollar Tree, and I always have scrapbook paper on hand. Here's 2 different springy patterns I think will be perfect for this. I'm also going to use some twine, and of course I picked up some flowers from Dollar Tree. This time of year they have their spring collection out, and I love these colors. So are you ready? Let's get started. So the first thing you need to do is pick out your color scheme. And for each of these boards on the Pallet Heart, I want them to be a different color or pattern. I'm going to have 2 solid colors. So this one here I'm painting with just a solid white using the same acrylic craft paint I use for my paintings and a flat brush. Give it a nice solid coat. You may need to do more than 1 coat. Be careful not to get it on the boards that are holding all of the heart together on the back as well. You could paint them a color if you want. I'm just going to leave them the raw wood color. The second solid color I'm going to do is pink, but instead of doing just a solid pink color, I used a dark and a light pink with some white, kind of like how I do the backgrounds to my paintings. I'm doing back and forth strokes and blending that in. But I noticed that the pink wasn't quite as warm as the pink I was using in the scrapbook paper and the flowers from Dollar Tree, so I started blending in a little bit of orange with them as well. Isn't that a pretty pink? So those are going to be my 2 solid colors. Notice how they're alternating with the other 2 wood boards on the heart. Those 2 blank boards are where I'm going to put my patterns. Make sure that's dry before you get anything else out. And then we can add our patterns. These are 12 by 12 scrapbook paper patterns. Let's do the flower pattern on the bottom, and up here this is a little wider than 12 inches, so I'm going to turn the blue paper like this, and then it fits. To get the right shapes, I'm going to turn the heart upside down and trace each of the wood boards. So this triangle at the bottom is going to line it up with the paper and then grab a pencil to trace around all of the edges, and then we can cut it out with some scissors. If you're worried about the pencil lines showing after you cut them out, you could trace it on the back, but I wanted to see exactly what part of the pattern I was cutting out for this, which is why I traced it on the front. So there's my triangle. Let's see if it fits. Looks good. All right, so before I glue that on, I'm going to cut out the blue paper. Remember, we have to turn it sideways so that it will fit. Turn it upside down and then use your pencil to trace around the shape. If you need to, you could also tape it to the paper so it doesn't move. I'm just holding it in place with my hand. That's a funky shape, but we're gonna cut it out with some scissors. Be careful. Since it's such a long line, you could also use a paper cutter and just use your scissors to cut around the curve. And there's that shape. Let's see if it fits. Hey, they both look good. Look how they match those flowers. That's so much fun. Okay, so let's get these papers glued on. I'm gonna take them off here so we can do that. I'm just going to use regular ModPodge today, but instead of doing the iron-on method, I'm going to show you another way to keep your paper from wrinkling. All you need is some water. I'm going to use water in a spray bottle and a rag. Now, first, grab an old brush. Don't use your good brushes for glue. This is my glue brush. I'm going to brush on an even layer on the first wood board that I'm going to glue. And then you want to work pretty quickly while the ModPodge is still wet. Because paper expands when it gets wet, we want to make sure it is slightly damp as well before putting it on the ModPodge. This is going to prevent wrinkling. So I sprayed my rag so it just had a little bit of water, and I'm rubbing it on the back of my scrapbook paper. See how it's already starting to curl a little bit? That means it's working. While the paper is still wet, put it over top of the wet ModPodge and then line it up the best you can. I'm going to use my fingers to do this first. You could just use your fingers to make sure it's all flat, but to make sure you don't have any air bubbles, use a foam roller just to be safe. I like to use this one and make sure it has full contact without any air bubbles. I actually scrapbook papered our entire stairwell in our house this way, so I know it works. So I have the first blue paper on here. Let's do the flowers at the bottom. Same thing. Use your glue brush to get a nice even coat of the ModPodge on the board. And then once you have that on there, get your water and take the rag to wet the back of your paper. See, it already curled, and we're going to put it right over top of the wet ModPodge. Just like that. And with my handy dandy roller, let's just make sure it has full contact and no air bubbles. Now we can finally add our flowers. I got a couple different shades of flower, but with the color scheme I picked, I decided I'm just going to use these pink ones. I think they match the most. So using my wire cutters, I'm going to cut each flower off of the main stem and decide where to place them. They are wire, so I think I'm going to put them right in the middle here like this, and then you can bend the flowers in place so they can be facing forward a little bit more. You could just glue them like that, but I'm going to take this burlap ribbon and just cut off a small section to wrap around the stems to give them something a little bit more to hold on to. This is nice too because I'm just going to use the hot glue to glue the burlap ribbon to the board and leave the flowers free hanging. That way in the future I could actually take the flowers out and switch them out with different colors if I wanted to. These pallet hearts already have a hanger on the back, so if you have a nail, you could just hang it right up and be done. But I wanted to add a decorative hanger to it, so to do that, I'm going to take these beads I found from Dollar Tree and some twine. Instead of drilling holes, that would probably be the best way to do this, but I didn't want there to be holes showing on the front. So because the heart is pretty light, I'm just going to hot glue the twine where I want it. So just taking a little bit of hot glue, I'm going to place it on the one side first. And just to make sure it stays, I'm going to take a piece of the burlap ribbon and put it over top as well. Before doing the other side, though, I'm going to take these beads I found from Dollar Tree and take them off the string they came on and thread them onto the twine. If you have trouble stringing them on, if it starts fraying, just tape the end and that should make it easier to thread. So I got enough of them on there to show on the front while it hangs, so then you can just trim off the tape and glue the other side the same way. And I'm also going to add a piece of burlap ribbon there just in case. And there's my finished heart. The beads from Dollar Tree came with a tassel that I wanted to add, and I asked everybody if I should, but pretty much everybody said no. So we're going to keep it off. Let's keep it plain and simple today. This is a great craft for spring, and it also doubles as a Valentine's Day craft. If you're an activity person looking for a craft idea, this was fun. Happy crafting, everybody. If you like this tutorial, follow me for more, and I'd love to see how your versions of this turn out.